Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Let's Talk Yoga podcast. I hope you are doing well. I am so sorry that my voice is sounding like this. I have lost my voice the past couple of days. You will hear it in today's episode as well when I'm talking with Dr. Manasa Rao. It was better when we did the interview, but since then I've lost almost most of my voice. I waited until the last minute to record this intro, so there was something I could tell you. I want you to know that Dr. Manasa Rao is a master's and PhD in yoga from Vyasa University in Bangalore. She has tremendous experience and knowledge and study of yoga that she has done, and you will hear the ease with which she communicates in this episode. I won't be able to do justice to her bio because of my voice, but I want you to go online and read about her. And also, you will hear her talk about all things sadhana in today's episode. Think of this as a masterclass in sadhana. I wish I could sit here and tell you what the episode is all about, but I can barely get these words out to you at this point. So I didn't want to stop the episode from dropping, which is why I'm here talking about it in this way. I really hope you forgive me for how my voice sounds, but the episode is rock solid. Everything you ever wanted to know about your sadhana is in this episode. So please go give it a listen. Dr. Manasa Rao is available on Instagram. Her website is linked in our show notes at letstalk.yoga. And I will not be seeing you on the other side because I don't want to record anything sounding like this anymore. But please enjoy this episode. It is a powerhouse of all things sadhana. I wish I could do more justice to this episode in this introduction, but I don't want to delay the drop. So here it is. I'll see you next week. Until then, enjoy this episode.
Hi, my name is Arundhati, and you're listening to the Let's Talk Yoga podcast. I'm an ex-Bollywood dancer turned yoga and wellness educator. I've built a 6-figure business as an immigrant, woman of color yoga teacher with no business background, no handstands, pure instinct, and the free information found on Google. If you love doing yoga and you dream of teaching it someday, this podcast is for you. We go over everything from doing and teaching yoga to scaling a small business, living a modern yoga lifestyle, and so much more. You'll find interesting, fun, raw conversations along with some tips, tricks, strategies, and insights in this podcast. So grab your cup of chai and let's jump in.
Hello, Mansa. Welcome to the Let's Talk Yoga podcast.
Hello, Arundhati. How are you?
I am good. I am so happy to finally be able to connect with you and have this conversation. For the listeners, we're going to be talking about all things sadhana. And Mansa, in the yoga world here, a lot of these terms get thrown around often, but there's never enough context. So it's like people only learn, sadhana means practice. And so there's not enough depth to some of these conversations. So I'm really hoping your experience, you'll be able to tell us a little more about sadhana. So to kick things off, what does the word sadhana mean?
All right. Okay. Let's do this one small thing, Arun. You just close your eyes. Okay. Now, give me all the words that you can think of when I say the word yoga.
Yoga is life. It is endless, infinite. It is a deep connection with yourself. It is making you a better human. It is endless. It is vast. It is humbling.
More words.
It is a practice. It is
Right.
forgiving. It helps you in everything you want to do. It is a support system for anything in life. You age better with it. It makes you a better contributor to community, to society.
Lovely.
It makes you peaceful. It makes you more giving. It makes you quieter.
Lovely. So all the words you said, forgiving, gratitude, quieter, patience, perseverance, abhyasa, everything, okay? All the words you said come under the realm of sadhana. Okay? Sadhana is a very holistic word that way. It is just that one word targeting every aspect of a practitioner's life. So everything in this world is a sadhana according to me. And I say this because it's a way we go about life, from what we eat, how we breathe, how we tackle our body, our mind, our energies, our emotions. Everything is tuned by sadhana. And by sadhana, I mean a methodical discipline to attain a particular desired knowledge. It's a purpose, a goal. Okay, that way, sadhana is I would say it is a cornerstone of the discipline of yoga. Okay, and coming back to what you just asked me, what does the word sadhana mean? Okay, so sadhana is a Sanskrit word from sadh dhatu. Okay, so the root word is sadh sansiddha. It means that to achieve a tool or a practice to achieve a particular goal. Okay, that's what sadhana means. But sadhana has 4 main components. Okay, this is beautiful, why I call this beautiful is every sadhana needs to have a sadhaka. Okay, sadhaka is a practitioner. Okay, and that practitioner, a sadhaka, has a sadhya or a goal to achieve what he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, he needs a siddha. Siddha is a guru. And why? Because it's only a siddha or a guru can give you the right sadhan or the resources. Yeah. So this is all about the word sadhan.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I like how you said it is a methodical discipline to get to a particular place.
Yes.
So then for someone who practices yoga,
mm-hmm.
what are we working towards? What goal are we working towards? I know in a broad conversation, yogis were working towards enlightenment. But if we had to contextualize it for today, for the practitioners who go to an asana class or a modern day yoga studio, what is this goal that they are working towards?
Okay. So, see, for that, we need to see how sadhana has evolved or changed over a period of time. Okay. And before we try to understand what does sadhana mean in the yogic context, or how sadhana has changed over a period of time, over centuries, or even what does the yogic text say about sadhana? Okay. To understand all this, we need to also understand a little bit of yogic history. Okay, the history of yoga. So, so that when we talk about, say, a Hatha Yoga or a Bhagavad Gita or a Geranda Samhita or a Yoga Vasishta or Upanishads or Vedas or any other yogic text, we should know the time period in history that we are talking about. So this is extremely essential because we generally tend to look at these texts with a modern perspective. Okay, and we make judgments about these yogic texts without realizing the framework of the society during that time in history when it was written. Okay, so understanding the tradition, the culture that would have encompassed that particular point of time is very important. So why I'm saying this is because our approach to a different set of sadhanas have modified over a period of time. Okay, with invasions, with influences on India, a lot has changed. But the crux of the sadhana, the philosophy behind the sadhana remains intact. So though the approach to sadhana has changed, okay, a lot, in terms of the modern world, it has changed, but the philosophy remains intact. Okay, so to quickly brush up on which sadhana or which yoga emerged in which period of time, first we'll have to, it starts from the Vedic period, which was about 1500 BC, where we have all the four Vedas coming, the Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharvana Veda. And then we have the pre-classical period, which was about 800 to 500 BC, where we have the Upanishads coming. Then we have the Bhagavad Gita emerge from that time period. And Bhagavad Gita talks about Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Yes. And after that, we have the classical period, which is about 3000 years ago. We have Patanjali talking about the Raj Yoga. Then we have Gautama Buddha and Mahavira and their works, their philosophies also emerging around the same period of time. Then we have the post-classical period, which is a very vibrant period according to me, because, it is between 800 to 1700 AD. This is a period of the Nath yogis, the period of Hatha Yoga, the Tantra, along with the Acharya Trayas, the Adi Shankaracharya, the Madhvacharya, the Ramanujacharya, and the Bhakti movement happened, where there was a surge in regional literature in India, from Purandaradasa to Tulsidas, Alvars, Mirabai, and then we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so many more in this list. Okay, they've all contributed to yoga. Okay, and then we have our modern era. Okay, which comes post 1700 AD. Okay, and the most crucial point, or the turning point in this modern era, begins with Swami Vivekananda's address at the World Religions at Chicago in 1893. So we need to keep in mind, when we are referring to, say, Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita, it is the pre-classical period. When we talk about Hatha Yoga, it is about, starting from the 800 AD, which means that the earliest Hatha Yoga text, the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, was written between 8th to, say, 7th to 8th century. And Goraksha Samhita came about 11th century. Then the famous Dattatreya Yoga Shastra is from 13th century. So, and our most commonly referred to Hatha text by Swami Swatmarama, Hatha Yoga Pratipika, is from the 15th century. Another two commonly used today is the Gheranda Samhita and Shiva Samhita, which is from the 17th century. Why I'm mentioning all this is that there are valuable takeaways from all these texts. That way, the abundant, the diverse knowledge that makes the entire spectrum of yoga absolutely phenomenal. Okay, I say this diverse because the tools that are provided is not linear. Okay, this is a very important thing that I want to stress on, because these texts present conversations to us. It's a dialogue between a teacher and a student. Say it is a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, or Krishna and Uddhava, or sage Vasishtha and Rama, or sage Ashtavakra and Janaka, or between Yama and Nachiketa, or between sage Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi, and even between Shiva and Parvati. And all these texts, all the conversations, they're all conversations and not commandments that way. Okay, see, so there is a great amount of sophistication in seeking, okay, when it comes to these texts. And there is something for every kind of mindset. So that way, sadhana is not linear. So today, much has changed. Okay, today we see that the social fabric has changed, the lifestyle has changed. But what has remained is the human mind, and the afflictions, the modifications, that remains. And I think in that sense, the obstacles that we face in the yogic path, which is mentioned in the yogic texts, the wisdom it holds good even to this day.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the way we interpret comes from a different era, but the challenges to tackle the human mind still remain. So in fact, I think more so with all the noise and the news and the distractions around us.
Mm.
So whichever path we chose to take today, there are a set of sadhanas involved and they are time tested. Okay. This is the beauty when it comes to yoga sadhana. How much we grab and how much we are capable of assimilating, I think that depends on our individual effort. But the intensity of the sadhana absolutely, lies with us, isn't it? Yeah.
I like how effortlessly you just took us through time. And went. It was really an important reminder, because you're right. We look at it from our limited modern perspective, our biases, the way we are conditioned, our likes and dislikes. So it's really humbling to just listen to you go through that list of how much yoga has behind us.
Absolutely.
And it is time tested, and it is the sadhanas you do will differ, and how much you can do depends on you and your evolution until this point. I'm really glad you took us through that, because I feel sometimes here, at least living in America, I've noticed sometimes yoga is things in yoga are a to-do list. Oh, I need a sadhana. Okay, now tell me what to put in my sadhana. And it's not a one size fits all type of answer, right? My sadhana will, at different phases of life, will be different from your sadhana in different phases of life, and your goals, and both of us are at a different point. So I'm so glad you took us through that. So in that case, does everybody who does yoga, do they need to have a sadhana?
Okay, lovely, very interesting. Because yoga itself is a sadhana, isn't it? And yoga and sadhana are inseparable.
Inseparable.
Yes. I think nothing great in this world has been ever achieved without a sadhana in place. Okay, whether we call it sadhana or not, but it still remains a sadhana, isn't it? Now, what's interesting is why do we need a sadhana? Okay, we can still go about our life without it, isn't it? To understand,
very true.
Yeah, to understand the importance of a sadhana, we need to understand, I think, certain concepts as to why we need it. Okay, and let me take you through this concepts, one after another, because these concepts are also interconnected, because every sadhaka at some point of time should ponder over this. Okay. Firstly, every human, needs to do the sadhana, because towards understanding his or her mind and the world around. Okay, why we need to do this? Because we are bound by the wheel of karma. Okay, so karma is the relationship between the cause and effect, between the mental and or physical actions and its consequences. Okay, and there are three types of karmas according to the Vedas. Okay, the first one is the prarabdha karma, which is the matured karma. We call it matured because, okay, let me give you a very classic example here. Okay, imagine a fruit, okay, say a mango on a tree, okay, and it is ripe, okay, and it cannot remain on the tree forever, isn't it? So it has to be, say, picked in time, or it has to just detach itself from the tree at some point of time. So similarly, the prarabdha karma is that ripe karma, which is kind of, say, registered in the universe. And today or tomorrow, it has to come to fruition. So at some point of time, okay, once you perform any karmic act, any action, there is no escape from that. Okay, whatever we're going through in this life now is our prarabdha karma. Okay, so prarabdha is that matured karma that cannot be changed. All right. Now we have the second set of karmas called the sanchita karma or the piled up karmas. Okay. And this sanchita karma is the totality of the karma. So the unique thing about the sanchita karma is that it can be cleared by spiritual sadhana. Okay. Like by meditation or chanting or prayers. Say if we go back to the fruit example, it is like going back to the source of mango. Okay, we can choose to nurture them or destroy them altogether, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Today I can go back to the tree and I can nurture that tree, or I can destroy it completely. In the same way, with the help of, say, the yogic sadhana, we can go to the source, okay, and choose to either nourish it or destroy it. Okay, that is the sanchita karma we have. Then we have the kriyamana or the agami, which is the present or the future karma. So which stresses on, say, the outcomes of tomorrow. Okay, that depends on the choices that or the actions that we make today. So here we have an option. So the point is that the choices that we made yesterday, say voluntarily or otherwise, have landed us where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the choices that we are going to make today, okay, will, say, determine our tomorrow, isn't it? So that way, our karmas are, they constantly chase us and we chase our karmas. So that's a spiraling wheel of karma. Okay, that way, having the right sadhana in place is of paramount importance. Why? Because each action creates an impression in our mind. Okay, and I'm coming to the next concept after karma, which is called the samskaras in yoga. Okay, so a samskara is a very interesting concept because it's a habitual pattern that we have developed over a period of time. So there are some strong samskaras, some strong habits, and there are some weak samskaras or weak habits. But the strongest of the samskaras are called vasanas. Okay, and this vasanas are the samskaras that are matured. Okay, so samskaras mature into being the vasanas, and these vasanas are highly potent. These are very, very strong habits. So whatever we see, our reality will be through the lens of vasanas. Okay, that way, our mind is no longer under our control, isn't it? So when we hear, like, as yoga teachers or as yoga practitioners, we always see people say that I try to wake up early, be disciplined, or I try to win off a particular substance abuse, or I want to follow a particular path, yet I'm unable to. Okay, it means that a particular samskara is extremely strong within them. Okay, so that habit, that samskara has already matured into being a vasana. So the stronger the samskara, it takes longer to overcome them. Okay, so it requires, what does it require? It requires more effort to change that particular pattern of habit. And that is where the yoga sadhana can help us. Because the yogic sadhana is aimed at say, cleansing our mind of its karmic impurities. So that way, everyone in this karmic cycle should latch on to a sadhana. Okay, that's precisely why we need a sadhana. Yeah.
It is, I like how you structured that so beautifully and so effortlessly. So in that case, what would be some of the factors, okay, that we should consider while building our sadhana? And or maybe tell me if we can go here now or if we should hold off for later. Should we be structuring our own sadhana do we get our sadhana from a guru or a teacher? How does one create their own sadhana? Because I'm in full agreement of everything you are saying. And because of our cultural upbringing and conditioning, sadhana is something that is layered into life for us, right? And it's we tend to grasp it in a certain way because of that conditioning. But for someone who's not from this culture, right? How do they build their sadhana? And where do they get it from?
All right. So I think before moving on to whether we need a guru or not, it's a vast thing. Okay, we will come to that. But I really want to focus on the factors first, like you asked, because that itself is a lot of understanding that we need to come to. Because the very second sutra of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, says yogas chitta vritti nirodha. So what is yoga? It is complete mastery over the roaming tendencies of the mind, or the modifications of the aspect of the mind called chitta. Okay, he uses the word chitta. Okay, so that is very, very crucial. He doesn't use the word manas or ahankara or any other aspect of the mind or the buddhi. He says modifications of the chitta, because as all karmas are contained in the mind called chitta. And what I mean to say is that our mind is a repository of all our karmas. Okay, in particular, the aspect of the mind called chitta. Okay, so the fabulous thing about Bhagavad Gita and Yoga Sutra is that it extensively discusses two key secrets which forms the foundation of any sadhana. Okay, the first aspect is abhyasa. Okay, abhyasa is practice. And the second concept that both the text talks about extensively is vairagya, which is detachment. So, say in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asks Bhagwan, how do I control this restless mind of mine? He says, Chanchalam hi manak Krishna pramati bhalavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. He says that mind seems totally difficult to control. I can control the wind, but not this mind. Okay, that's what he says. But Bhagavan says, asamshayam mahabaho manodurnigraham chalam. He says that whatever you're saying, Arjuna, is totally correct. The mind is definitely difficult to restrain. But he says in the next line, abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate, which means that through the practice, abhyasa, and through vairagya, it can definitely be controlled. Okay. And also Patanjali expresses the same view when he says, abhyasa vairagyam tan nirodha. So this is a twofold technique. So abhyasa and vairagya are the backbone of the yoga sadhana. So abhyasa and in fact vairagya both are, I would say, it cannot be compartmentalized as two different practices, because they are intersecting part of a sadhana. While abhyasa neutralizes the vasanas, the strong habits gets neutralized over a period of time. And how does that abhyasa achieve that? Is by creating discernment towards what's real and unreal. And we call that viveka. Okay, and that's how abhyasa works. And when it comes to vairagya is a contemplative process. Okay, so like again, it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita where Bhagavan says, Brahmanya dhyaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate nasa papena padma patra vimam bhasa. He says that Krishna gives a metaphor saying that like a lotus leaf, okay, that remains untouched by water. Even though it's remaining in water, a person who is in this materialistic world should be there, but he must remain free from all the bondages of the world, like a lotus leaf. And that's a fantastic example for a vairagya that he gives. So, but the incredible thing about yoga, okay, I think, is that you're ultimately accountable only to yourself, isn't it? Your own practice, and where abhyasa is less, achievement is less. Where abhyasa is decent enough, the results reflect, isn't it? So don't go about, like, say, telling the world that you practice yoga, but you practice detachment or any other thing. The moment people look at you, they'll know that you're just not another person on this planet. The intensity of the sadhana will reflect on the face, isn't it? So abhyasa and vairagya are those two fantastic factors of the sadhana, I feel.
I'm smiling because it reminds me of my teacher. When someone would complain, oh, there's so much to do, he'd be like, don't do. You don't have to do if you don't want to do it. Everything in yoga is an option. It's a choice.
You
want to walk the path, walk the path.
If you want to comes from within,
yes,
the change doesn't happen.
Absolutely. So I was just reminded of how he would say, nobody's forcing you to do anything in yoga, right? You are on this path willingly. And your answer, your response was reminding me of that.
Yes. So, and the past karmas have brought us to the mat.
Yes.
Actually. Yes. We should never forget. If we are today on the path of yoga, it is not because I am on the path of yoga. Okay. We have our baggage and we have come here with that.
Yeah. And hopefully we are unpacking that baggage. So what are some of the obstacles? You mentioned it earlier in the conversation, and even Patanjali wrote so much about the obstacles in yoga, and it's there in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and it's there. They've a lot of the texts you mentioned, they called this out so long ago.
Yes.
So what would be, in your opinion, some of the obstacles that we would bump into while practicing our sadhana or being in sadhana? I don't think you can practice a sadhana while being in sadhana.
In the broader view, okay, all humans face 3 different kinds of obstacles, and we call it tapatraya. Okay, or there are 3-fold miseries, I would say. So the tapatrayas are adi bhautika, adi daivika, and adhyatmika. Okay, so all the obstacles that we can think of comes under these 3 main headings. Okay, so adi bhautika is a physical suffering, which could be diseases or ailments, which is of the physical body. Now there is adi daivika, which are obstacles because of the natural environmental calamities. It could be an earthquake or a tsunami or some other, say a hurricane or any other things which are not under our control, isn't it? Or floods or something like that. That is adi daivika. Then we have the adhyatmika. And this is beautiful, okay, because this is a spiritual obstacle. Okay, and why I say it's beautiful, because there is a lot of understanding that needs to go into this adhyatmika, because this particular obstacle is created due to, I would say, separation from our own true identity. Okay, where we are not in touch with our true self. So that's in the larger view. Okay, the tapatrayas. Now, if we come to, say, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, this Hatha Yoga text talks of the bhadaka tattvas, or the obstacles. And in fact, even Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which is a Raja Yoga text, talks of the obstacles in the form of 9 antarayas, or the predictable obstacles. And there are 4 other obstacles which arise out of the consequence of the 9 antarayas. Then we have the 5 kleshas. Okay, so we'll go one after another. Okay, let's understand this. So first, let's take Hatha Yoga Pradipika. So in Hatha Yoga Pratipika, the Badaka Tattvas that Swami Swatmarama mentions are, he says, Atyahara Prayashashva Prajalpo Niyamagraha Janasanghascha Laulyancha Shadbhir Yogo Vinashyat. Okay, so what are the 6 obstacles that he talks about? So he talks about Atyahara. Atyahara is overeating. Okay, eating beyond what our body requires. Okay, because if we eat more, then we feel lazy to do any kind of sadhana. And if we eat less also, that doesn't support, the enough nutrition is not there for our body, so basically there should be moderation in eating. Okay, then he talks about prayasa. Prayasa is excessive physical exertion. Okay, and being involved in activities that causes fatigue. And prayasa can also be mental fatigue. Okay, it can be overthinking. Okay, constantly being in that loop of thoughts is also prayasa. And then we have prajalpa. Prajalpa is too much talkativeness, or even just mere gossiping. Okay, that also takes away our energy, isn't it? So why not use that energy towards our sadhana instead? Okay, that's what he says. Now, niyamagraha is the next one, which means that being obsessive about observances. Okay, which means that taking up extreme vows of, like, say, going on extreme diets, or like, say, taking a totally cold water bath in the morning, when it's really cold. It's not conducive to the sadhana. Okay, then the last one he mentions is janasangha. Okay, which means over socializing. Okay, so why? Because, okay, it's a very interesting thing, because it creates a lot of impressions on our mind. When we come to our mat, when we come to a point, when we want to focus on our breath, when we want to focus on our sadhana, there are a lot of impressions that keep running in our mind. So the lesser the impressions, lesser the obstacles that, lesser things that we need to cleanse before we do our sadhana. Okay, so these are the things that are mentioned in Hatha Yoga Pratipika. Now, these aspects also lead to failure in sadhana. That's what he says. And Maharshi Patanjali also talks of the 9 antarayas. Okay, so he says, Vyadhi, Sthana, Samshaya, Pramada, Alasya, Avirati, Bhranti Darshana, Alabdha Bhumikatva, Anavastitatvani, Chitta Vikshepate, Antaraya. So he says, Vyadhi. Vyadhi is a disease. Okay, and disease is a obstacle to sadhana, because we need to sort out that disease before we enter into any severe sadhana. Okay, and then he says sthana, which is mental inertia. So what, if I don't practice yoga today, who cares? So avoiding and postponing, say, being on the mat or showing up and being on the path with the discipline, it makes it impossible for us to evolve also over a period of time. So keeping that momentum, okay, with say, self-conviction is, I think, very important, so that we can, say, thwart the mental stagnation over a period of time. Okay, that way, mental inertia, the laziness is, or the tamasic quality, what I would say, we need to overcome that as a sadhaka. Then there is samshaya that he talks about. So what is samshaya is, there are so many doubts that we get as a yoga practitioner. Starting from, can I practice yoga? And I am no good at yoga, or I don't think I can ever make it to a particular asana, or is it a complete total waste of time and my energy? We also doubt the teacher, saying, is this teacher good enough for me? Okay, so there are so many doubts that we get, okay, as a sadhaka. So there are plenty of that doubts, that cloud our mind. Okay, and we question our own capability, and we not just our capability, we start questioning the system itself. Okay, so this is an obstacle to yoga. That's what he says. Then after that, he mentions pramada. Okay, pramada is carelessness. Okay, it's like generally, we know that say certain foods do not suit our body. Okay, we still indulge in it. Okay, we know, say, late night binge watching is not conducive to our early morning sadhana, yet we indulge in it. Okay, so in fact, at every yoga class, we see a large chunk of this floating population who appear with enormous enthusiasm, and it just disappears without a trace. Okay, so the mistake that we do is, rather than taking it slow and steady, we fool ourselves by overdoing the practice that throws us off the track. Okay, and we expect too much from too little time and too little effort. Okay, so that we need to carefully tread this path with, I think, with a lot of mindful awareness. Okay, so that was pramada. Then after pramada, he talks about alasya. Alasya is mental and physical fatigue. Okay, so sometimes, we give excuses saying, I don't feel like getting out of the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me start my practice from tomorrow or from Monday
Tomorrow never
or
comes.
from the new year. Let me have a new year resolution. So, or even it could be like, today I don't have the right yoga wear to start my practice. Okay, so this is where our habits and samskaras pull us down. Okay, almost I think all practitioners of yoga go through a feeling of being lazy and don't feel like doing the practice some or the other, and it's natural. But having that repeatedly, continuously, and not knowing that this is happening to me, okay, that is the knowing that it's just happening to me is very important. So so that we can break the difference between laziness and wanting to take a break. Okay, so whatever it is, I would say, don't miss out on the practice. Okay, you don't always need to need a mat or say need a proper space and the aroma and all that things, to start a practice. Wherever you are, just focus on, say, as simple as a diaphragmatic breathing.
Yes.
Or do an alternate nostril breathing, or just chant Omkara for 12 rounds. Okay, that's more than sufficient, so that you just keep the practice going, saying that, look, you're telling your mind that I am the master. I'm not going to come under the alasya. Okay, even if it's little, okay, just practicing something is very important. Now, the next obstacle he talks about is avirati. Okay, avirati is the inability to withdraw from our sense cravings. Okay, so it's like we indulge in something without knowing why, because, like I've explained about, because of our habitual patterns. Okay, that next one is a very interesting thing. It's a Bhranti Darshana. Bhranti Darshana means false visions. Okay, so this is a very self-deceiving obstacle. I think it's like we just, after, say, a few classes, a few months of yoga, you just close your eyes and, you're just sitting and doing some meditation, not just japa or pranayama, and you see that lights appearing, and, it could be just somebody would have switched on the light in the room, and we think in our mind that, okay, I'm seeing that divine light within myself, and it could be true, or whatever, but what I mean to say is, today we have countless pseudo yogis who know it all because of this obstacle. Okay, because some illusions will be fabricated, okay, as divine visions. Okay, so what Patanjali is saying is, look, this is an obstacle. Be alert about it. Okay, now the next one he goes to, the 8th one, is the alabdha bhumikatva. Okay, again, I sometimes feel that, how beautifully, all these obstacles have been put, together, because
it's like he
uh,
traveled in future and saw
yes,
all that we
it's
did
like
and then wrote,
Anabdi
codified.
Bhumikatva is inability to reach the goal.
Mm.
Okay. So it's like a feeling of being stuck at a particular stage, which is highly demoralizing. Okay. Say due to lack of progress, one gets even tempted to say, change the direction, change the teacher, change the path. It's like, I'm not progressing enough under this teacher on this path. So let me change my path. So, but we can overcome this, most of the frustration, by focusing on the abhyasa rather than thinking how long it takes to reach there. Okay, so we need to have some patience. That's what he directs us towards. And one is ability to reach a goal. Okay, the next one is anavastitatvani, which is inability to retain in that particular level in the sadhana. Okay, one is reaching a goal. The other one is to being there. Okay, you have reached a particular level. How do you maintain that level of sadhana? Okay, and sustain there for a long time. Okay, and the mind, I feel, gradually glides towards back to desires of the senses. It pulls us down, saying, okay, it's okay, I've reached here. It's okay, do this particular thing. You've reached there. So, but most times we don't even realize that the senses are pulling us down. Okay. So Patanjali says, be aware of this. Okay. And the beauty of this is that after these 9 obstacles, he talks about 4 more conditions that comes along with the obstacles. He says, dukkha daurmanasya angame jayatva shwasa prashwasa vikshepaha sahabhuvaha. It means pain, mental agitation, angame jayatva, shivering of the limbs. Okay, then shwasa prashwasa vikshepaha sahabhuvaha, which means irregular breathing patterns arise because of what? Of these obstacles. So if somebody is facing these, you know where to trace it back to. Okay, so if there is irregular breathing pattern, if there is shivering of the limbs, if there is pain, or if there is mental agitation, go back to the obstacles. Okay, see where you stand. Okay, it's like a checklist. Okay, then Patanjali also talks about another 5 causes of our suffering. Okay, so this is avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, klesha. So which means avidya is ignorance. Okay, which is simple as mistaking the impermanent for permanent. Okay, so I would say it's like we spend so much time on our outward appearance, okay, and we fail to understand that we need to look at ourselves inwardly. So the difference between the sat and asat, what we call, that which is temporary, that which is materialistic, to that which is permanent, that which is within us. So we need to have this viveka, or we need to have this discernment. Okay. And if we don't have it, we have the avidya, or the ignorance, which is an obstacle. Okay. Then he talks about, after avidya, asmita. Asmita is our ego. Okay, so this is not the ego in the Western, or I would say the Freudian sense, because asmita is a very broad concept. Okay, it's a false sense of the self itself. So it's an identification of everything that's I, me, and mine. So it's a feeling that we are separate from the nature. So we distance ourselves. There's an interconnect. But being a witness to our own thought process. So being objective about objectively, about our own thoughts, our own environment. I think we can definitely overcome asmita, and I feel For all this, awareness is the first step. Okay. And after Asmita, he talks about raga and dvesha. Okay. Raga is attachment. Okay. Which is obvious, in many people. We are attached to our, say, family, our children, our spouse, our food, our smartphones. List is endless. Okay. So now, though, we are attached to even like the social media and the absent social media. So there's so many things that we get attached to. But moderation and balance, I think, is the key, in today's world to help, overcome this particular affliction. And along with attachment, there's something which is opposite of raga, which is dvesha, or aversion that we come across in our life. Dveshas are strong dislikes. Like most often we have strong dislikes because, say, we don't want to step out of our comfort zone, actually. See, we don't want to go beyond where we feel comfortable with. And the best way would be to either change the situation or change our attitude to that of acceptance. Okay. So the more we accept things, the lesser our dvesha becomes over a period of time. And the last one he talks about is abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is the fear of death. Okay. So abhinivesha is actually, why do we have abhinivesha is because we are clinging to life. We have fear of death because we are clinging to life. But in the wider context, I think we could say it's a fear of loss or change. Actually, it's a fear of change. And how can we overcome this particular thing? That, like I just said, we need to cultivate an awareness of saying that everything is just transient in this world. Everything is impermanent in this world. And also, we can live each day of our life as if it were to be the last. Okay. So that way, we can overcome this fear of death. So see, even the finest of the yoga practitioners would have faced these obstacles at some point of their time in varying degrees, isn't it? But what Patanjali says is, be aware of this. Okay. And the obstacles are there to come. Okay. But have your abhyasa, develop vairagya. And so when we need to look at sadhana in that perspective. Okay. So the obstacles will come. Okay. But how do we get better of it? Through abhyasa, through vairagya, I think depends totally on our effort.
Mm-hmm. So are there different components to building your sadhana?
Okay. So here, I would like to bring a little bit of neuroscience, okay, along with the yoga philosophy. So there is something called neuroplasticity or brain plasticity. So this neuroplasticity is the ability of our nervous system to kind of, say, rewire to any intrinsic or extrinsic stimuli. Okay. So, all right. So now, the more we use a certain circuit, okay, it becomes thicker and denser. Okay. The way to trigger plasticity is by abhyasa or practice. So, till whatever we learn becomes an instinct. So that's exactly what Maharshi Patanjali says. Sa tu dhirga kala nairantarya satkara sevito dhrida bhumihi. So what he says is constant practice for a long period of time without a break, okay, with complete faith and devotion is necessary for the sadhana to become firm in its foundation. Mm-hmm. So why a constant and continuous practice is required? Because the stronger the neural network, the tougher it is to change and rewire over the learned pattern. So similarly, in the yogic wisdom, like I mentioned, the deep-rooted habits or samskaras are called vasanas, isn't it? That's in the mind field, and it takes longer to tackle them because we can't expect magic to happen overnight without constant and continuous practice. So it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes patience and perseverance. Like Maharshi Patanjali, for this particular purpose, gives us the methodical Ashtanga Yoga, a blueprint for sadhana, and to progress towards that highest potential. Perhaps that is why yoga is for all the age groups. You know why? Because neuroplasticity is at work throughout one's life. Okay. So moving on, what's amazing is that Maharshi Patanjali gives us an entire chapter on sadhana in Yoga Sutra, where we are introduced to the yogic tools such as Kriya Yoga, the Ashtanga Yoga, and variety of other practices. He in fact starts the sadhana pada with the Kriya Yoga, Tapaswadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. How beautiful. Okay. So one needs to build up the sadhana on these principles of Kriya Yoga for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's wonderful. I never thought of it like that, but that is it is wonderful.
Yeah.
I do want to be respectful of your time. I know it is late for you. So, but can I sneak in a couple of more questions?
Absolutely.
So it goes back to what I asked you a while back. So who creates the sadhana for you? Do we build it ourselves a little bit of, you said looking after the body, looking after your mind, looking after your breath. Do we pick and choose based on where we are? Or do we lean on a teacher to create one for us? Because I'm pretty sure everybody listening wants to create their own sadhana. And they may already have one, right? But how do we verify or know that we are on the right path in our sadhana? Does that make sense?
Yes. Absolutely. See, this is very interesting, Arundhati, because whether there can be a DIY or not. Okay. So in this virtual world where we have, say, every yoga flow, every practice with umpteen examples up there on the social media filled with teachers posting what set of asanas to do for what ailment, what practices to tackle our modern mind, to tackle our relationships, to tackle our diseases. It's all dumped there. Okay. So we need a yoga teacher to tell us what to do, isn't it? Of course, we need them because I personally believe that yoga path becomes meaningful and wholesome under the guidance of the teacher.
100%.
Why? Because so that we don't waste time doing random practices. Okay. And instead, the sadhana can be personalized to suit our requirement. That way, we are conserving our energy and time. Okay. And when the practice is focused, there is a clear intention or a sankalpa. Okay. And I think yoga as a practice needs to be monitored by a teacher. And especially, okay, yoga is not an exercise and it's called yoga. Why? Because it has a particular breathing pattern to it. Okay. And especially the way we breathe, the way we move, the way we align. Because yoga is not a physical practice. Okay. But it's a method to channelize our energy. Okay. So if we are looking at yoga as a physical exercise, we're just moving our body, looking at some content or consuming some content online, it's a different thing. But if you're saying yoga practice, then you're channelizing your energy, for which you need to have a particular pattern of breathing. And this needs a lot of guidance and understanding of the fundamentals. See, another important thing, Aru, is that yoga vidya, okay, is a guhya vidya. Okay, it's a secret knowledge. I don't know, a lot of them might not know it. They might think that, okay, it's all there, it's all in the books, it's all written and there. But let me tell you, all knowledge is in the books or the internet. The real teachers, okay, pass on the hidden knowledge to the deserving students, okay, not all students again, to the deserving students, depending on their capabilities, even to this day. Okay. Even though there are thousands of books on yoga, in fact, there are some aspects that are never recorded in print. Okay, it is just passed on to the students according to that particular tradition. Sometimes even without being so spoken by the teacher. Okay, I can't reveal more than this as to why it is secretive. And the intricacies of what the secrets is in this knowledge. But all I can say is that it is secretive. It's Guhya Vidya, so that it doesn't get misused over a period of time.
Absolutely.
Okay. And in my experience, there are certain practices, or I would say interpretations of practices that my guru has shared, which I have not come across any written format, at least till now. So let me share a little bit of my own example here as to why we need a guru in the sadhana. See, I had practiced yoga from my early teenage years, okay, where I had many teachers, along the way. Teachers who taught me Bhagavad Gita, to Yoga Sutra, to philosophy, to Hatha Yoga practices, human anatomy, and so much more, okay. But eventually, I had come to a point where I thought that, okay, this is my path, okay, of learning. Say, you just learn, you just practice, read, and repeat, okay. And then at a particular point of time, my guru entered my life, okay, and who shifted the entire trajectory of my yogic life, okay. What I had learned till I met her, okay, was just the foundation for the sadhana that she gave me, okay. So all the 20 odd years of practice that I had done, okay, was just the foundation for what I received from her. So after I met her, the pace at which, okay, I repeat this, the pace at which the progress happened, okay, was tremendous. So that way, I believe that we need to tune ourselves to a particular frequency for a guru to enter in our life, and who shares their experience. And we are in no way bigger than the guru when it comes to experience. So if we say that I can build my own practice, and then it is just the ego talking, okay. I still think that healthy one-on-one student-teacher relationship can make it easier to have the right tools so that the sadhana can be channelized.
I've always been somebody who's beaten the drum on this podcast as to, without a teacher, there is no yoga. Without a teacher, there is no yoga. So I am in complete agreement of you. But can I ask you one more question here? And I can talk to you about sadhana for the next hour and more. But what does someone do if they are feeling stuck in their sadhana today, or they're stagnating? Is there anything they can do to refresh, like how we refresh our apps and everything else, and we have that software updates on our phones? What can somebody do to, this is the wrong word, but I'm going to use it anyway, revamp or upgrade their sadhana?
Okay. Stagnation is a very interesting word when it comes to sadhana. Okay, let me go back to the chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan says, Bandhuratmatmanastasya enatmaivatmanajitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvatu, which simply means that your mind is both your enemy and your friend. Okay, so such is the paradoxical power of the mind. Okay, when we control it, it's our best friend, and when we allow it to control us, it becomes our worst enemy. So why do we feel stagnation in the sadhana? Okay, we need to ask that. Okay, stagnation in the sadhana is fine, but why do we feel that stagnation? The stagnation occurs when the constant sadhana is not in place. number one. And the right tools are not applied. Okay. The little interruptions here and there, okay, are completely normal. But there is no question of being stuck if you have the right guidance from a right guru. Okay. The stagnation also happens when, say, we look at sadhana in a linear fashion. Okay. Like, see, if you're performing selfless service without expectation or even acknowledgement or even a reward, that is karma yoga, isn't it? We can do that. Can we not practice that in our daily life? Isn't that yoga as well? So there can be no stagnation when it comes to karma yoga. So there can be no stagnation while practicing gratitude and being authentic to ourselves. So stagnation happens because our mind restricts the practice of yoga to what is done on the mat. Okay. If we look at yoga holistically, then a Pandora's box opens up to infinite possibilities. So the other extreme of sadhana, stagnation, okay, in sadhana is sometimes people feel that the entire yoga vidya is overwhelming sometimes because there's so much to study, so much to practice, so much to know. Okay, isn't it? So one aspect of it is stagnation, but I would say look at yoga holistically. Don't say, okay, today I cannot achieve this particular asana. I've been doing that for a while. That itself is not just yoga. Okay. So you need to look at yoga beyond the mat. When you do that, set realistic goals. Pick up the momentum. Little abhyasa is better than no abhyasa.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's wonderful. I feel like as you were speaking, I'm like, this is a master class in sadhana for all of us. And like I said a moment ago, I can keep asking you 10 more things about sadhana. But I do want to be respectful of how late it is getting for you. And I would love to have you back for more conversations and deeper dives into a lot of these things. And Manasa, I will link to everywhere where people can connect with you. Whether that's on social media. That's how I discovered you. I ended up seeing a reel of yours on something, and that's how I connected with you. And I know you offer a lot of, you do offer courses and trainings for yoga teachers, right? So I will link. I know you said you are someone who can't talk about yourself and what you do. I find that very... It's a common theme across a lot of yoga teachers. They'll say, I can talk about yoga for hours, but you put the spotlight on me. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about yoga itself. So I will link to everything. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Okay. I have one last thing to add. Okay?
Please do.
I think I would like to say that in this path of sadhana, okay, most importantly, as yoga instructors or yoga teachers or yoga therapists, okay, when we are sharing the sadhana, okay, we should always remember to acknowledge the land from which it has emerged. Okay, so share the knowledge wholeheartedly, okay, in all its authenticity, okay, but by giving due respect to the tradition, okay, and have a deep sense of gratitude towards the lineage of masters who have, in fact, kept it all alive for us through the centuries, okay. I request all the teachers, okay, all the yoga practitioners to just do this one small thing for me. That much I think we can definitely do as yoga practitioners. Let's be authentic to the sadhana and to the lineage and to the masters who have given it to us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arundhati.